All right, so now we're learning the Dvar Malchut. This is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991. 1991. This is like a half of a year or something before he had his stroke, which rendered him mute. He wasn't able to speak anymore. So these are very important messages, and especially the Rebbe. The topic is the most important topic in reality, in the world, in history, in humanity, and that is Moshiach. Moshiach is going to be a person that's going to simply make everybody aware of what God is. That God is creating them, that God loves everybody, that God loves the world, that man is good, that the world is good, that God is good. God is infinitely close, that the Torah is infinitely true, and the Torah is a guideline. The non-Jews will do the 7 Noahide commandments. So the Rebbe says, well, okay, good. This is nice to talk about this, but when is it going to happen? So the Rebbe said, well, I'm sort of asking myself the same question, because everything has already been done to prepare for this person, Moshiach, to come. Now, Moshiach is going to be somebody like Moses, just like Moses, one person. He just said, Jews, you don't know who you are. You're not slaves. We're leaving Egypt. We're going to make the world a good place. And that's what Moshiach is going to do. The difference is going to be that the Jews rebelled against Moses, and Mashiach, somehow or other, the Jews are not going to rebel again. I mean, the essence of a Jew is to complain and rebel. So I don't know exactly how this is going to happen, but it will happen. Perhaps that'll be the biggest miracle of all. That the Jews won't complain. I don't think that this has ever happened in the history of the world. The Jews did not complain, except it says before Mount Sinai. It says before Mount Sinai, the Jews were like one heart, one person with one heart, and they all wanted the Torah. Okay. However, it's not going to be that way. And one of the reasons it's not going to be that the Jewish people will not complain and that they will want Mashiach is because Chassidut, because Chassidut has been spread around the whole world, so people sort of understand that God is not this external power alone. God, of course, is an external power, but not alone. That God is creating me and you. That's pretty good. And He's infinitely, infinitely intimate. He's closer to us than we are close to ourselves. Okay, but that's Mashiach is going to make everybody realize, reveal, feel. Of course, Mashiach he's going to be the representative of God. He's not going to, people are not going to believe in him, are going to pray to Mashiach. You can't pray to Mashiach. You can ask, anybody for favors. You can ask people for favors to help you, but you don't pray. Mashiach is not God. But he certainly will make everybody reveal that how close God is. That every human being is sort of God. Not that we're the creator, but that there's nothing else except for God. So that means we're also godliness, huh? Why can't you, if everybody's godliness, then why can't you worship a person? Because it says in the Torah. If it didn't say in the Torah, you could do it. Why not? 10 commandments, first 10 commandments. I am God that took you out of Egypt. That's the first one. Don't worship any other gods. Only the one that took us out of Egypt. Okay, here we go. So now, any second Mashiach is supposed to come. Any second Mashiach is supposed to reveal himself. And the Rebbe basically said that the Mashiach has already revealed himself. The redemption is not here. But who the Mashiach is, we know. It's all of the Rebbes of Chabad are the Mashiach. The previous Rebbe for sure was Mashiach. And the one that took his place is Mashiach. So here we go. And Mashiach is also going to be a prophet. So it says, Mizeh, moving from this is understood, Limud, we can learn that we got a lesson. Right, one second. From this we can learn, yes, a lesson for everyone. Now we're in Shabbat, Parshas Shoftim. And our generation is specifically now the last seconds of exile. Shetzarich and Lios, there has to be, we have to serve God in a way that is commensurate with Mida Keneged Mida, commensurate with the future redemption. You're going to go get married, for instance. You don't go get married in sandals and a t-shirt or something like that. You get dressed nice, right? You get dressed nice. You buy a nice. Get prepared. Take a few classes to learn what you have to do when you get married. What is a marriage? You're going to have children. How to deal with children? You want to take care of your house. You have to get prepared a little bit, right? Getting married is not like how do you say going to daven in the morning, praying in the morning. It's a big thing. You have to do the same thing. Moshiach coming. It's a marriage. It's a marriage day. You have to get ready. You have to fix up your deeds, your action, your thoughts. Everything is going to change. The world is going to be really good. You have to be good. Get ready to receive the good. How do we do that? You have to advertise by yourself and by everybody that you know. Whoever you can, that should sarich on the Kabbalah, you have to accept on yourself. You have to accept on yourself and to make a resolution for yourself. Stronger. The teachings which were given by the Shoftaim, the judges, and the advisors of our generation. Who is it? The rabbis, and especially the leader of our generation, the previous Rebbe that's coming, and that he is the leader of our generation, that is the continuation, that is the continuation of the previous Rebbes of Chabad. He's the judge of our generation, and he's the advisor of our generation. He's the prophet of our generation. So the Rebbe is speaking about himself. That rabbi that comes as a continuation of the previous Chabad rabbis, he is the judge, the advisor, and the prophet of our generation. Like it says clearly in the Torah, in this week's Torah portion, Navi Akim Lochem, I will give you a prophet, Mekirav Achichem, among your brothers, and he's going to be a Jew just like you, Kamocha, like you, like Moses got to speak in the Moses. Moses says to God, what are the Jews going to do when I'm not there? He says, don't worry about it. In every generation, I'm going to make a prophet just like you. And I'll put my words in his mouth. The Diber Alehem will speak to you all that I command you. And you have to listen to him. Like the Rambam says, if a person has all these good qualifications and the criteria for the Eshlemos, and he has this, how do you say, completeness and what's the word for it? Integrity or whatever. I don't know if that's a good word. He has all these good qualities, character traits, abilities that Moshiach is supposed to have. He knows the whole Torah. He does all the commandments. And he fights anything that tries to destroy Judaism. He try to educate all the people, the Jews. Then this person has, if a person has these qualifications, then he is a prophet. And if he does miracles, like we saw, and like we saw the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, how he did these amazing miracles. Meaning we don't believe him because of the miracles that he does, because it could be that he's doing them by magic or something, but because of mitzvahs, because of the commandments that Moses said in the Torah, that anyone who has these criteria that you have to believe him, you have to listen to him. Now that's the important thing about the prophet. A prophet is here not only to tell us what's going to be, what horse to bet on, or what the big miracles is going to be. Rain is going to fall here and it's not going to fall here. It could be Mashiach is also for those things to tell future, but the main thing of a prophet is to turn the Jewish people back to the Torah and its commandments and the commander. That's the main thing of the prophet. You can say, so who's the prophet? Maybe any person that stands up can be a prophet. Huh? So you got a good point, but therefore there is criteria of what the prophet has to do. Prophet has to be a person that he doesn't change one law of the Torah, that he only encourages people to learn and to pray and to do the commandments as they are written in the Talmud. And he strengthens Judaism, strengthens Jewish identity. These are all things that the Rebbe does. Al Yudezeh, by means of this, that he'll say, Dvar Matidim, that are going to be in the world, V'yaminu Dvarov, and will believe in his words. Right? The Rebbe in the 6-Day War said there's absolutely nothing to worry about. No one agreed with him. Not one expert in the whole world agreed with what the Rebbe said. He told people, don't leave Israel. It's the safest place for a Jew to be. Also the same thing with Saddam Hussein was shooting missiles. don't leave Israel. Israel is the safest place. He encouraged people to go to Israel. And they were raining missiles down, right? 39, whole buildings fell down. And the Rebbe said, there's nothing to worry about. It's going to be an amazing victory, and we're going to win, and everything. And nobody, it was a clear prophecy. It was all the papers that no one in the world agreed with him, but everybody knew Lubavitcher Rebbe, if he says something, it can't be that he just made it up. So therefore, nobody disagreed. Maybe there's one person or something disagreed with, but except for that, and that person was wrong. It goes out with it goes without saying. That person was wrong. The Rebbe, it was clear prophecy. Everything that was going to happen, the Rebbe said the Iron Curtain is going to fall, and the Jews are going to get out of Russia. Who believed him? I think like that. Even the Jews, the Chabad Hasidim that were in Russia, didn't believe it. But the Rebbe said it. That's a prophecy. Okay, said okay. And sure enough, what is it? A half a year or something after the Rebbe said that, all of a sudden Gorbachev just said, "No more Iron Curtain, no more Russia, no more communism." That's it. Everybody can go out. Nobody believed it. It's like we saw, says the Rebbe, that we saw also the same thing by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe always stressed that he's just carrying out the work of the previous Rebbe. V'yaterim is even more Navi Shei lo Navi Acher, a prophet that was testified by another prophet that he's a prophet, like we see relevant to the prophet, the leader of our generation, right? Again, the Rebbe is referring to the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, but of course he's referring to himself. That if he was appointed by the Rebbe before him, and all the Rebbes of Chabad were certainly prophets, right? They certainly made. Here we saw that even there was prophecy even by the Baal Shem Tov and his pupils. V'zen nimshach b'dor acharav, that's drawn down by the generations that came after him by means of his pupils. Harihu b'chazaka navi, that he's also a prophet. So the previous Rebbe is a prophet because his father said that he was, and a prophet that's declared to be a prophet by a previous prophet, you don't have to test him. It says when a prophet stands up and says, "I'm a prophet," you're supposed to test him. So, but if he was certified by a prophet before him that he's a prophet, you don't have to test him. And the Rebbe, of course, was certified by the previous Rebbe. The Ein Zeh Sheni Sheni Tzorech Chakira, and the second prophet, the new generation prophet, he does not, because he has he was appointed by the prophet before him, so you don't have to check him out. Lo tzorech charkira, but tzorech him letzayet. You have to obey what he says immediately. Od kodem sheyasa od, even before he makes any miracles. If somebody just stands up and says he's a prophet from nowhere, and who appointed you a prophet? He said God did. So he could say, okay, tell me something that's going to happen in the future. And you do this to him 2-3 times. If he's accurate every single time, then you say, okay, this is a prophet. This is a prophet. But if that prophet was appointed by a prophet that was previous to him, you don't test him. He says, it's even forbidden to have any doubts about him, or to have any how do you say, what's the word for it? Reservations about his prophecy. Shema einut emes, maybe it's not true. It's forbidden to test him more than is necessary, like it says, "Lo tenasu et Hashem Elokecha." Do not test God, kasher nisisam b'masa, like you did in the desert. They tested Moses over and over. Elabad me'ach, since you know that this person is a prophet, yaminu, you have to believe in him that God appointed him. V'lo yaharer, and don't have any doubts about him. V'lo yachshavu acharav, and don't have any, any reservations about serving him, about doing what he says. Kavan says, "Amina, but Dvar navi," because you have to believe in the words of a prophet. Lo mishum she'elu Dvarim shel navi, not because these are the words of the prophet, because Isaiah is such a holy and a wise person, so I'll listen to him. No, Ela mishum elu divrei el HaKodesh Baruch Hu, these are the words of God that come through this prophet. They're not even the words of a prophet that God said to another prophet, and I'm just repeating them. God is speaking through this person, and he's telling us what to do. So you could say, okay, that was in the time, the first temple or something like that. No. The Maimonides says that every generation has to have someone like that. It's one of the 13 principles of faith, that you have to believe in a prophet. If so, we have a teaching And the Rebbe here is saying that he himself is a prophet, and that the words that he's saying are not his words, but they're the words of God. And what is his main message? We'll get to it in a minute. There's a teaching, therefore there's a teach. We have to advertise to everyone in our generation, that we merited, that God, Bachar Vamina, that he chose and he appointed, Baal Bechira, a human being that has free will, Shemitzad Atzmo, that on his that he himself, who Shalo Be'erich, Nalam Anshiador, he's in a totally different level than everybody else in the generation. That's like a king. That's what Moshiach will be, a king. He'll be totally different, like all the prophets. They were they were coming from a different place, right? Everybody else was sinning, and Jeremiah comes and says, "Stop doing it." God says, "Who are you to talk about God?" No, but they killed him. They killed Jeremiah. They killed Isaiah. They said, "This is not a. He's a person like everybody else. He's just like me. What's he telling me what to do?" But the fact is, no, they weren't. They were totally elevated from everyone else in their generation. That they will be the judges, and they will be the advisors, and they will be the prophet of the generation. That they will show called and give advice to the service of every single person. Here we have, 40 books of letters of advice from the Rebbe. But call on Hashem and everyone in this generation, B'kol Inyani Torah, and everything that deals with Torah and the commandments, B'nogei l'chaye hanhagas yom yom, regarding to the conduct of every single day and every single moment, Gam b'kol derechecha do'eo, even in your mundane, regular, day-to-day activities, B'kol masecha, and everything that you do will be for the sake of God, by means of listening to the advice and the prophecy and the decisions of the appointed person in our generation, which in our generation is the Rebbe. Ad until Nevuah Ikari, says the Rebbe. And it could be that there's more. It could be that there's a lot of prophets, right? There could be a lot of people that they're the prophets of, the generation, and the Moshiach, there can only be one. King, there can only be one. But advisors, there could be advisors and judges and prophets. In the time of the first temple, there were several prophets. It said there were whole schools, thousands of prophets. Used to be. Says the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe was a prophet. He was appointed by a prophet, his father, and he appointed a prophet. So the Rebbe, that's me. The leader of Chabad is the prophet of the generation, the leader of the, until the man. What's the big prophet? Okay, what is the prophecy? What's he want to get over? Says the previous Rebbe said it. La'alter le'geula. Immediately the redemption has to come. Take of miyad, and immediately hine Mashiach ba. The Mashiach is already here. Together with this merit, yesh l'kol echad me'anshe dorenu. Everyone in our generation has the responsibility to accept on himself the judges and the advisors, and to listen to and to obey all of the teachings and the advice and the orders that he gives. And it has to be in a way of plural. Everybody, shoftayach v'yotzayach, your judges and your advisors. Riboy mishpatim. You can say maybe there's a lot of judges, but there's also a lot of judgments that he makes. Riboy eitzes, a lot of advice that he gives. Nosef al kach, in addition to the fact that this comes by the judgments of shoftayach v'yotzayach, your judges and your advisors. Who are they? Your rabbis in your community. Rabboseinu Nisienu, Bedoro Shalif Neze, and all the rabbis in the previous generations. Sha'az yesh lezeh gam atokef hamuvan l'kol echad bebechinas eitza tova. Then everyone, you can get good advice from all of the rabbis, because they come from the power of this promise of the Torah that God said, "I'm going to make you advisors." And not only that, it'll be not just in a way of commandments that you have to do it without understanding, that you should understand. It's for your own good, and feel that it's for your own good, not just in a way of a commandment. Shafilu imu ochez me'atzmo, even if I happen to be a big egotist and I think I'm smarter than everybody else, and I'm certainly smarter than this person that they call the judge, the rabbi of the community, for sure. Afilu yesh lo al pi Torah v'shulchan aruch, that a person could think that he's superior to everybody else, and he really is superior. He really knows the whole Torah, and he knows everything better than the rabbi of the community. But yachid v'rabi malacha karabi. If you have one person and you have many, then the law is like the many. In other words, if I'm going against what everybody else says, as maybe it could be that I'm not right. Maybe I'm not right. It could be that I am. But don't be so sure. So the Rebbe is trying to say here that we have to come down a little bit from our, I say, break a little bit of a hole in the big wall which is around our egotism, and let in the advice of the rabbis and of the teachers in our generation. Al Yidei Kabbalah, by means of this and receiving the judges and the advisors. Of course, there has to be a one main principle over here, and that is that they don't go against the main teacher of the generation. I mean, they can have their different ways. For instance, Chabad has their customs and their work. Then there's Sephardic Jews, there's Iraqi Jews, and then there's Moroccan Jews, then there's Bukhari Jews, and there's the Gruzini Jews. And then in the non-Sephardic world, there's Hungarian Jews, and there's Litvish Jews, and there's all different groups of Litvish Jews and Hungarian Jews, and all these different, all these have their advisors and their teachers according to their way. But the main thing is they cannot contradict what the Rebbe says. They can't contradict what the Rebbe says. And you'll see, in fact, if you're a little bit familiar, that the Rebbe tried the utmost never to contradict anybody else, to always embrace the good which was in all these different groups and facets and movements, genuine movements in Judaism. We're talking about people that genuinely do all of the Torah and all the commandments and etc. Right? And that's a very good thing. And the Jewish people, there were 12 tribes, and each tribe had his own nature and his own customs and his own ways and his own different prayer books and etc. This says the 12 gates, but none of them could contradict what Moses said. On the other hand, Moses tried to enhance and encourage the differences between each and every group and each and every human being, because every human being is different from every other human being. But the one big advisor, his advice that he gives, it has to be accepted. It has to be accepted. And it will never, ever contradict any good thing. Never. And that's the idea of the prophet of the generation. Is if you listen to the teachings and the instructions of your rabbis and of the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, then to encourage the learning of Torah, encourage the love of every Jew, encourage the doing of the commandments in a more, in a Hidur way, in a special way, then that'll be the preparation, and God will listen to our prayers that we pray 3 times a day. Hashiva Shoftenu, return our judges like in the beginning, and our advisors as in the start. The Geula, then there will be the true redemption. B'shlema, and how much more so, that the end of action was in God's thought. How much more so? We're already talking about it. And speaking, that's the idea of prophecy. Like we said before, that we have to say. So we're saying, Moshiach is here. The redemption is going to be any second. Like the Rebbe said, we have to advertise. It says, you have to advertise to everyone in the generation that God has sent a human being, that he is on a different level than everybody else, and he is the judge and the advisor and the prophet of the generation. That's the Rebbe. He's saying we have to advertise to everyone that it's here. Here it is. The Rebbe is here. He's all the qualifications of Mashiach will come. And if a person says, how do I know the Rebbe is Mashiach? Maybe, so you can say, listen, say whoever you want to is Mashiach, but Mashiach has to be somebody with all of the exact same qualifications, the exact same nature as the Rebbe. It's going to have to be somebody exactly like the Rebbe. You want to say you won't be Ashkenazi, you'll be Sephardi, you'll be tall, you'll have the long hair or short. It doesn't make any difference. If it has to be somebody exactly like the Rebbe. So here we have the Rebbe. What's the difference? What's the Rebbe? But okay, you can say whatever you want to, but that shouldn't be an excuse for not, right? For not believing that the Rebbe is the Mashiach. At least you have to say it could be the Rebbe is Mashiach. I was once speaking in some place, and someone stood up and started screaming against the Mashiach, against the Rebbe. He's not the Mashiach. And everybody yelled at him. And all the people that I was speaking to were all like Hasidim from other groups, even from Satmar, that they have a history. Now it's all changed, but they have a history of not liking Chabad because of Chabad's attitude toward Israel, the Israeli government. Anyway, Chabad believes that the Israeli government, that because they're Jews, so their Judaism will eventually overpower and eliminate their Zionism. And Satmar says, no, nothing can beat Zionism. You have to just get rid of these people totally. They're totally, how do you say, defiled through and through. So that used to be sort of the argument. Anyway, so this person started saying against the Rebbe, and everybody yelled at him. Everybody stood up. First of all, I didn't know who these people were, so I thought that maybe they're going to yell at me. So everybody stood up and yelled at him, and the person left. And one of these Satmar people came, and he said it in Yiddish, but so it's like sort of Geschmack in Yiddish. Ich glaub nicht, dass the Chabadske is the Mashiach, aber it's a Geschmackas for. He said, I don't believe that the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the Mashiach. He said, but it's a nice idea. He said, it's a good idea. In other words, at least say that it's a good idea. Good, okay. You have your doubts, you have your this, 100%. We've been in exile for a long time. We got used to it. And the whole purpose of Hasidut is because the terrible situation that we're in. People aren't thinking about God, and they're not thinking about Moshiach, and they're not thinking about Torah, and they're not thinking about commandments, and they're not thinking about Judaism. But down deep in the essence of the soul, that's all they're thinking about. That's all every Jew is thinking about. And therefore, we have to advertise it to bring it out. So according to this, so therefore, we have an answer to those people who say, Shemedabrim Macharona, that we're talking now. People come to me and say, what are you talking about, this redemption? Well, it's going to come immediately, miyad. How can it possibly be accepted and succeed in such an easy way? How can you talk about things like this? Kate said, Yegivu, what are you doing to Chabad? You're destroying all Chabad. We were nice guys. We're talking, we want to put on tefillin. Would you like to do this? We're nice, right? Everything. All of a sudden, talking about Mashiach. People are not going to accept this. Kate said, Yegivu, how are people going to respond? Mayomer Olam, what's the world going to say? No one's going to come to my Chabad house. No one's going to give me money. I have donors that they like me. They like. I'm going to start talking about Mashiach. They're going to think I'm crazy. They think it's not Judaism. What's the answer to people like that? You got a good point. These people are among the world. They know what's happening. Says you don't know what's happening. The answer is She'ilu and Yani Geula. If this idea of the future redemption was something new, then maybe there would be a place for their question. Because this idea of the redemption of the Jewish people, it's not a new idea. This is one of the basis. This is the basis of Judaism. The whole thing, it already began. Well, it's already been drawn out since the time the Jews left Egypt, and it's already accepted in the world. The non-Jews also, they know that God took the Jews out of Egypt. They know what happened. They believe it happened. It happened in this physical world. And the idea of the future redemption is one of the 13 principles of faith. There's going to be a Moshiach who's going to redeem the Jewish people. It's the basis of Judaism. So therefore, we're not talking about something new. Lo yapela kasher geula bo take off miyad. So it won't be any amazing thing if it comes. The redemption comes now. Simply speaking, ba'amadnu, now we are standing. So maybe we'll do this tomorrow. What do you say? Tomorrow? Yes. Okay, this is what we're going to do tomorrow. Simply speaking, now we are in this Hasidic bringing, and therefore every person, man, woman, and child, has to accept on himself a resolution, a good resolution to do all that we have said before and all of the advice that I'm giving you. Everything that was spoken about here today, these are words of Torah. The words of Torah, the teachings of our rabbis talk about Moshiach. Think about Moshiach. Do everything you can to improve the world, to improve Judaism. Mainly to let everybody know that Moshiach is not an idea and it is not just an era. It is a person, and that person is already here. And that person will change all of the exile that we're in. There won't be any more churches, and there won't be any more exiles, and there won't be any more twisting the Torah and perverting the Torah. And everyone will see that the Creator is creating us and is the same Creator that's creating us. He's the one that gave us the Torah. One person is going to make the whole change. You could say, how can one person make this big change? So you can say, listen, there's only one person that's even talking about it. That's the Rebbe. There's only one person in the world that's even talking in this direction. And he's saying it's just something that's already here. We'll just have to reveal it, talk about it. Do something about it. As we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow, Friday, tomorrow, 8:15 in the morning. Now we're going to learn the Yom Yom. Stop the share. Stop the